Now his son Cambodia, he went and conquered, some of the northern steppe tribes, the Scythians and so on. He went to parts of Arabia and conquered those. He conquered Egypt and parts of Nubia. He was going to campaign against Khatadasht, but he didn't because the Tyrians and his navy refused to. Then they had a successor, Darius, who conquered parts of India, and his successor, Sher Shah, who conquered parts of Greece before in the Greco-Persian wars, before being driven back against the Greeks. The Persians were driven back, and they had the Sonata Kshatra. And then the Persian Empire goes on and on and on until it's defeated finally by Alexander and forms the Macedonian power in the Near East. But the Persian Empire ruled over the Near East for much of this time during the Hakamanashe dynasty, and then after that after the Seleucid, after the Hellenistic period, they came Epithava. There's this dynasty, which is another Persian Empire, a second dynasty, and that was overthrown by the Sassanid, the final Persian Empire dynasty. It goes back to mythical times as well, but I'm not going to address that here. Okay, so that's the Persian Empire. Now, the priests of the Persians, the Magi, who's a Median caste, spread into Anatolia, and they brought the mysteries of Mithra with them. Mithra was worshipped in many Anatolian kingdoms, like Pontus, and even in Cappadocia, the Hatti land, where the Hittites, ironically, the Hittites who concluded the treaty with the Mitanni live in the Hatti land, and the Mithraic Mysteries were brought there as well and merged with some of the Hittite cults, and the Magi continued to practice the Persian mysteries in Anatolia. Even when they had a few things with the Romans and so on. This is where the Romans come in. The Romans encountered the cult with their war against the Persians under the Pathavas and the Sassanids, and Mithraism in the west was born. It's a mixture between the Platonic and the Zoroastrian tradition. The Platonic in the west and the Zoroastrian tradition of the east forms this Western Mithraic tradition. Okay, now Mithra worship spread throughout the Near East. It was in Arabia, and it was in Canaan, and it was in Anatolia, as mentioned earlier, and Syria, and Mesopotamia as well. But Mesopotamia was under Persian dominion, so obviously it's going to be quite a bit different from the West, which includes Canaan, and then part of Anatolia, which is where the Romans ruled. Now, a Mithra temple was built in Sidon in about I think about the 5th century AD, and it was continued to be used right through into the medieval period. I think the reason why is because the Byzantine era Canaanites wanted to maybe construct something that might be seen as a competitor to Christianity, which was spreading at this time. And so they used Mithra worship to do so. Okay, so what is Mithra worship? What is the cult itself? As we've seen, it is to Mithra, who is a lord of light, and he is a protector of oaths and covenants. He protects the pastoral people, and he fights on the side of the warriors. He's a guardian of goodness and righteousness against demons and evil spirits. He's very merciful, and he is a servant and a good creation of Ahura Mazda, the high god of Zoroastrianism, who might be equated to perhaps El of the Canaanite religion, perhaps. Okay, so Mithra, in this, he's worshipped in caves, and he must be shown in a belief slaying a bull. Now this bull is the constellation Taurus. When he kills it, he frees the universe, he frees the constellations of evil. There is something similar in the Canaanite Melkart story, something similar in the Mesopotamian Gilgamesh story. You know it all, the Bull of Heaven, and the deal when Ishtar went to Anu and they lit the bull on the earth, and Gilgamesh and Enkidu killed him. Enkidu and Gilgamesh then offended Ishtar, and you know the story. But Mithra has something similar. Persia, Mithra has something similar to the Babylonian and to the Canaanite religion. The Persian religion has the Mithra, who is dressed in a kind of Persian attire. He's dressed in typical Persian attire, which was worn by the Persians in honour of their lord Mithra. They're still Zoroastrians, still dress like Mithra today. They dress in this manner to emulate Mithra. What he's doing is creating the cosmos, purifying it from evil, and and now the Mithra is a mystery cult, and the people go into kind of, there's a demiurge who created the universe, but Mithra frees us from evil which has contaminated the universe as a result of evil spirits entering it. He brings about goodness. He's a salvation god. He frees people who engage in these Mithraic rites from he frees them from, even though the world itself is not evil. Now I do in fact know that the world itself is not evil in these rites, but you know, Mithra is worshipped in Canaan. He has been for many years as well. But the world itself in these rites is not evil. It's just contaminated with evil from the evil spirits. But the way to receive goodness and truth is to be saved by Mithra, who is sent here, I suppose, by Ahura Mazda to protect the people. Now, when the people go through, it's very astrological based, so when the people go through this ascension, through the various steps of the Mithraic rites, they firstly go through the raven or crow. This is the first rank, which is equated to the planet Mercury. Then they go through the bridesman, who is associated with the planet Venus. The soldier, associated with the planet Mars. The lion, associated with the planet Jupiter. The Persian is a reference to the Persians who form the cult, which is associated with Luna, the moon. Then the sun runner, associated with Sol, the sun, and finally the father, associated with the planet Saturn. And then beyond that is the infinite space, beyond time and space, if you like, which a person who goes through it all is saved by Mithra and transcends evil and is not harmed by evil in any way. Okay, so that's Mithra worship in Canaan. This is a Persian god who is imported into Canaan and is found in Canaanite religion as well, but you know, he's mostly known from Persia, and even in India, even in Hinduism, Mithra also has a role as kind of a form or an avatar of Surya, the sun god, in that religion as well. And it's found in the Roman and Greek religions, and it's very complex. Quite a lot of Canaanite philosophers went through Mithraic rituals and were familiar with Mithra. And the cave, Mithra cave, which is, these you see is very constellation based, very astrological based. You can see it's that Mithra is purifying the constellations and creating the good part of the universe and protecting it for the forces of good and righteousness which the gods have created. The figures of the Torah represent the autumn equinox and the spring equinox, very important part of nature kind of worship, or you know, the way the sun moves through the atmosphere. And it's just kind of Mithras with kind of identify the sun in some way. He's kind of purifying the elements and protecting the constellations as well from evil. Along with the sun, he's a bringer of light. He's a light bearer. He's very noble. He's a very powerful figure, a saviour and everything else. And he travels with the sun through the sky, purifying the cosmos. We've seen this with Milkart, we see this with Reshef to some extent, we see this with Shemesh, we see it with Mithra as well. Okay, thank you for listening, Shalom.